Right now, massive U.S. military drills are underway in the Persian Gulf, the largest show of force near Iran in over 2 years. Thousands of American troops, carrier strike groups, strategic bombers, and special operations units are conducting what the Pentagon is calling routine exercises. But here's what has everyone on edge. The timing is anything but routine. These drills come just days after Trump signaled he's running out of patience with Tehran's nuclear program. So the question everyone's asking, are we watching preparation for war being disguised as training exercises? Is this positioning for a potential strike? Or is this the ultimate pressure campaign to force Iran back to negotiations? I'm Blake Hartfield, and we need to talk about what's really happening in the Middle East right now because the implications are massive. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button and subscribe. It's completely free and helps the channel tremendously. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss critical updates. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at Blake Hartfield. My DMs are wide open for any tips or information you want to share. This is a developing situation, and I want to hear what you're seeing, what you're thinking. Now let's break this down because there's a lot more to this story than what's being reported in mainstream coverage. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal and Reuters, the U.S. Central Command ordered these exercises approximately 72 hours ago. What we're seeing deployed includes the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, which is now positioned in the Gulf of Oman, along with B-52 Stratofortress bombers that have been forward deployed to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Sources within the Pentagon confirmed to multiple outlets that roughly 12,000 American military personnel are participating in these drills across air, sea, and ground components. That's not a small number, folks. That's a full-scale operational rehearsal. Now, I'm putting this up on screen right now. The official statement from Central Command describes these as pre-planned exercises designed to enhance readiness and interoperability with regional partners. But here's where this gets even more critical. These exercises were not on any published military calendar. Defense analysts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted that typically, drills of this magnitude are scheduled months in advance and publicized to avoid miscalculation. The fact that this mobilization happened within days suggests this was either an emergency response or, and this is what's concerning, preparation for something imminent. Let me break down what's actually being practiced here because the details matter. According to military analysts who spoke with Defense News, the drills include simulated strikes against hardened underground facilities, aerial refueling operations that would be necessary for long-range bombing missions, mine-clearing operations in the Strait of Hormuz, and rapid force insertion exercises using special operations teams. Take a look at what I'm showing you. That's not defensive training. Those are offensive capabilities being tested in real-time conditions. Intelligence assessments suggest that Iran has been closely monitoring these movements. Iranian state media has already called this provocative warmongering, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps released a statement saying they're on maximum alert. According to reports from Al Jazeera, Iranian naval forces have increased their presence in the Strait of Hormuz, and there are unconfirmed reports of coastal missile batteries being activated along Iran's southern coast. The escalation cycle is happening right before our eyes. But here's the thing everyone's missing. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Just 6 days ago, Trump held a closed-door meeting with his national security team. John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, and key military commanders were present according to sources who spoke with Politico. What came out of that meeting? Within 48 hours, we had these drills announced. The timing of this cannot be coincidental. What I'm seeing here suggests that a strategic decision was made, and what we're watching now is the operational execution of that decision. Now, this is the part that should concern everyone. Iran's nuclear program has advanced significantly over the past year. Data released by the International Atomic Energy Agency in their latest report shows that Iran has enriched uranium to 60% purity. That's just a technical step away from weapons-grade material. Documents obtained by the New York Times reveal that U.S. intelligence estimates Iran could produce enough fissile material for one nuclear weapon in approximately 2 weeks if they decided to break out. That's a dramatically shortened timeline from where things stood a year ago. So here's what you need to understand. If the administration believes Iran is approaching a nuclear threshold, the window for military action narrows rapidly. Military strategists have long argued that once Iran has an actual nuclear weapon, the calculus changes entirely. A strike becomes exponentially more dangerous and potentially catastrophic. What's likely happening behind the scenes is a debate about whether to act now while there's still a conventional military option or risk waiting and potentially facing a nuclear-armed adversary. Listen, I've got to be honest with you. When you look at the deployments, when you examine the capabilities being exercised, when you consider the political timeline, this has all the hallmarks of either imminent action or the most aggressive deterrence campaign we've seen in years. General David Petraeus, former CIA director and CENTCOM commander, stated in an interview with CNN that military exercises of this scale and nature send unmistakable signals about capability and willingness to use force. What's not being reported widely is the diplomatic track, or rather the lack of it. According to sources within the State Department who spoke with Foreign Policy magazine, there have been no direct communications between Washington and Tehran in over 3 weeks. Back-channel negotiations that had been ongoing through European intermediaries have reportedly stalled. When diplomatic channels go cold and military assets surge forward, that's when you need to start paying very close attention. Here's the footage you're seeing. Commercial satellite imagery from Planet Labs shows the massive increase in aircraft at U.S. bases in the region. Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, all seeing surges in military hardware. This level of buildup doesn't happen for a simple training exercise. Former Pentagon official Michael Mulroy told NBC News that the logistics alone for an operation of this scope suggests planning that goes back weeks, possibly months. The strategic significance here is massive. If this is preparation for strikes, we're likely looking at a targets package focused on Iran's nuclear facilities, Natanz, Fordow, Isfahan, possibly Iraq. These are hardened, deeply buried facilities that would require bunker buster munitions and precision strikes. The B-52s that have been deployed are capable of carrying the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, specifically designed for this type of target. According to military experts at Rand Corporation, a successful strike would require hundreds of sorties and would likely last several days, not hours. But wait, there's something even more significant. Regional allies are also mobilizing. Reports from Haaretz indicate that Israel has quietly elevated its military readiness status. Saudi Arabia has reportedly been briefed on potential operations, according to sources who spoke with The Guardian. The UAE and Bahrain, both of which normalized relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords, are being kept in the loop. This isn't just a U.S. operation being planned in isolation. This is regional coordination at the highest levels. Now, let me break down the implications because this affects everyone, not just the Middle East. Iran has repeatedly threatened that any attack would result in closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply passes daily. Oil prices have already spiked 8% in the past week on these tensions, according to Bloomberg data. If the strait closes, even temporarily, we're looking at energy prices surging globally, potential recession triggers, and massive economic disruption. There are essentially 3 ways this could play out, and we need to consider all of them. Scenario 1, these drills are purely deterrence, meant to signal to Iran that military options are real and ready, potentially forcing them back to negotiations or halting their nuclear program through intimidation alone. This would be the most favorable outcome. No shots fired, but Iran gets the message and changes course. Scenario 2, these are preparatory drills with a conditional strike plan, meaning if Iran crosses certain red lines, perhaps enriching to 90%, expelling IAEA inspectors, or conducting a weapons test, these forces are positioned to strike within hours. This is the locked and loaded option waiting for justification. Scenario 3, and this is what keeps defense analysts up at night, these exercises are the final preparation phase before a predetermined strike that's already been authorized, with execution pending optimal conditions or political timing. In this scenario, we could see action within days or weeks. While we can't know for certain, the evidence strongly suggests we're somewhere between scenarios 2 and 3. The speed of deployment, the specific capabilities being exercised, the diplomatic silence, the regional coordination, these aren't indicators of mere posturing. Something significant is in motion. What decision makers in Washington are considering right now is whether the risks of action outweigh the risks of inaction. Do you strike now while Iran doesn't have the bomb, accepting short-term regional chaos and potential Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces and allies? Or do you continue with sanctions and diplomacy, risking that in 6 months or a year, you're facing a nuclear-armed Iran that cannot be stopped by conventional military means? For Israel, the calculus is even more stark. They view an Iranian nuclear weapon as an existential threat. If the U.S. doesn't act, there's a very real possibility Israel conducts unilateral strikes, potentially dragging the U.S. into a conflict anyway, but under less favorable conditions. Over the next 72 to 96 hours, watch for several indicators. First, any movement of additional carrier strike groups toward the region. Second, diplomatic messaging. If you see evacuation advisories for U.S. citizens in the Gulf states or Iraq, that's a major red flag. Third, Watch oil markets. Traders often know before the public when something's imminent. Fourth, Israeli military movements. If the IDF goes to highest alert status, that tells you action is very close. I'll be monitoring this situation around the clock and will update you the moment we have new developments. This is the most dangerous moment in U.S.-Iran relations since the Soleimani strike and possibly since the Iraq War. The decisions being made right now in the White House, in Pentagon war rooms, and in Tehran will shape the Middle East for the next decade. What do you think this means? Drop your analysis in the comments. Do you think these are genuine war preparations or just an extreme pressure campaign? Are we headed for conflict or will diplomacy prevail? Let me know below because I'm genuinely interested in what you're seeing in this situation. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Totally free, costs nothing, massive help to the channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Blake Tart Hartfield. Send any tips to my DMs, especially if you have sources in the military or intelligence community. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.